Okay. So hi there, everyone. Welcome to February's Family Council Empowerment Zoom, or monthly Zoom. And I'm here, Janine Ferrari, Family Council Liaison with Gloria Murray, my amazing Family Council Liaison partner. And we're going to talk about the basics of family councils. Family councils, Gloria and I have been noticing, are suddenly kind of like a hot topic in the United States. And we noticed that it's happening in Canada and in Europe too. So it's a good time to be forming a family council, to be building yours. If you're trying to recruit people to your family council, let's talk about it. We are here to answer your questions and to engage you in conversation about family councils. And behind the scenes, you've got Haley Cronquist and Eric Goldwine of the Long-Term Care Community Coalition. They are our Oz behind the curtain, and they're allowing people to come in and doing all of the technical work to make this seem as flawless as you see it.
So Janine, let's talk about Family Council 101. Let's just kind of go back to the basics, right? So what is it? Who is it? Why do you want it? And it comes from a regulation. It is a regulation that not many people know about. And we want to bring it out. And we want to help you, anyone, to get their family council started. We understand that sometimes it seems a little like a job because it's some work, but we'd like to engage with some of you today, Janet, Letitia, to talk about how you kind of found your family council and how how you feel it's going, because we really want to understand and we want to share with everyone the importance of the family council. We always talk about strength in numbers. You do have the power. Family members are in those facilities more than anybody else, more than an ombudsman, more than anyone. And you do have the power. And what you want to do is make your family council for residents and their quality of life for everybody. So Janine, this is our regulation right here that says the facility must provide a resident or a family group if one exists with private space and the reasonable steps. So we just want to point out that this is a law. This is a federal requirement for a nursing home. And of course, we want you to approach this on a very friendly basis with your facility if you don't have one. So that's why we want to talk about getting back to basics, getting back to what it is that you want to achieve. How do you want to set it up? And we're hoping that we can have some great dialogue going today with all of you who already have your family council and want to talk about how it's going, how you're finding the work to have a family council. We also, I believe, might have some ombudsman on with us today. We want to talk to them about, because they're talking with families and maybe how they can present it in a less frightening way, so families aren't so worried about starting family councils. So you want to take it from here?
Are there any ombudsmen on today? No?
I'm one.
Hello, you.
Hello.
Is this Carl? Hello. Hello.
I'm in Illinois.
You're in Illinois. Hello. Hello, Illinois. Illinois in the house. We love Illinois. We love Gloria and I usually log on to Lee Moriarty's bi-monthly Zooms because we learn a lot every time we log on, and she's such a dear.
Yeah, I'm the guy who's behind the scenes posting.
Stephen Maxwell?
Yep, guilty.
You are a celebrity. Hello. Oh my gosh, I'm like sweating over here. Wow, thank you for joining us, Stephen. I know exactly who you are. And I just saw you this past Tuesday. Thank you. And Liz Spidell is on. Hello, Liz. How are you? Charles Gorget is on.
Good. How are y'all doing?
So fine. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. So for ombudsmen that are on, how have you been experiencing family councils in the last few years? Now that we're kind of COVID is still around, but it's no longer the deterrent it once was, between 2020 and 2022. How are you finding, existing family councils, and if you, building them in the long-term care residences that you, that are in your regions? Anyone want to tackle that one? Stephen Maxwell, since we were talking to you?
Do I want to tackle that? No.
Okay, don't worry, you don't have to.
Well, and I went from being a regional ombudsman to working for the state now, so I'm not the boots on the ground anymore. But it's difficult because you throw out the idea of a family council, and you get like everybody shows up at the first meeting, but then after that, like it drops off to just a few. And in my experience, it's usually the ones who've had a bad experience at the home, and all they kind of want to do is complain about stuff. And you're just kind of it's stressful, and I'm hoping to get some ideas of how a family council can be helpful and can be good, and not just people complaining about stuff.
Thanks for sharing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about Liz? Liz, I know we've spoken before in the past, Janine, you and I, about family councils. Would you like to contribute anything towards how you're doing with your family councils there?
Liz? You there?
You can't hear me because I muted myself even after I am muted.
No wonder.
No way, right? Can you believe it? So with family councils, I think at individual facilities, it's a little bit hit and miss. I think what Stephen said is true, and I think that's also true for resident councils. It's kind of one of the things that we're trying to do is kind of how to think about the councils as kind of like the heart of a community, as opposed to just a space to kind of talk about what's going wrong, or more rarely what's going right. But there's also about that space of collaboration too, how resident councils and family councils can work together. We've heard some residents saying like, we don't like the families here because they take over our resident council meetings. So like kind of thinking again about those partnerships and how people working towards the same goals can work towards each other, towards those goals together. But also, again, this idea of building community, I know we've talked about it before. It seems kind of not as important sometimes when there's like concrete fundamental issues for people's lives, right? Like the care that people receive. But I think it's what makes things possible to kind of move forward and just survive what are sometimes really difficult situations, often difficult situations for families.
And I think going back to what Rich said, I think sometimes families are coming into a family group because of situations that have happened, and they think that this is where we can take care of them, and it is. I think the other thing too is for some families, I think maybe to get things started, it would be less maybe intimidating for some. Because obviously some families think it's okay at the facility, and some are not having a good time, right? A good experience. So I think they should always be looked at as, what are we going to achieve with this? And how do we make it sound less cumbersome? So maybe starting out with if you haven't had one, maybe starting out more with a planning versus, we're planning a family group. And then when you get your families together, you can talk about the formation and get to know each other. I think that's the biggest part. I think it's all about getting to know the families in the nursing home and bringing you all together to get to know what your strengths are to help build that family council. So there's a lot of ways, and one of them is to make it sound not such a daunting task to a family member. That there's simple ways to start it, there's simple ways to develop it, there's simple ways but everybody has to recruit, right? So yes, it's definitely a challenge. Janet, how about you from the family side? How do you feel you're getting your family council back up and running and everyone participating? You've had some good results. You're on mute, Janet.
Okay,
There
there
you
we
go.
go.
There we
Okay,
go.
well, one, I am in an assisted living versus nursing home. However, I've been at it on and off for 5 years. Took a long time, and probably the biggest problems I've had is not so much the families, but trying to keep it going because of the changes in our administration. That then it has a lull, it comes back, it's a lull, it comes back. And we've had similar things with our ombudsman that we haven't had a set person for more than several months. So I think the toughest part I've had is those obstacles. But I'm trying to like almost put on two different hats mentally to say, okay, now I'm trying to recruit and this. Okay, now I'm trying to keep it going and keep everybody happy. But I think the keys that come up to me is that flexibility. I've changed the time to meet the needs of the families several times. Of if the majority of people were home every day, then it might have been better to meet during the day. When it switches to more people working, we've gone back to nights. We had always met in person until Zoom, I mean, until COVID. And then we've been Zooming since because we have several families right now, probably 5 of them that literally live out of state. So they're not going to come to any meeting face to face, and it's really helped them. So that recruiting part goes along with meeting the needs of the families. And I think our biggest bit of luck is how many families are still going through that grief, the guilt, the sadness of, oh, I'm not taking care of my family member at home. You know, I helped put them here. And while they're resolving that, they don't know what to do with if the family's saying, I don't like the food, I don't like the this, I don't like the this. But I really find that, you know, reminding them how light the family council could be, that it's nothing formal. You have to dress up and be able to speak properly and blah, blah, blah. And that the more they hear that that's happening with other people, it validates that many of those concerns are real. And it helps people with that togetherness to then start to let's work toward, you know, how this could change. And while we do more of the, let's say, the legalistics of, you know, should they be serving that crap at night versus is it their budget? Is it their excuse? Is it this? Is it that? That pulls it together. But I think one of my biggest tricks, I'll say, and not tricks in a nasty way, but what I've figured out along the way is that when we could, on occasion, be doing something for the residents, for the community that's fun, that makes them happy, that needs some other people to volunteer who might feel better volunteering than speaking up at a meeting. It really gives it a nicer balance of than even the family person feeling, oh, they need me, or oh, I want to find out what they're doing, instead of like, what do I do if I'm just on the receiving end of the complaint department? I try to always remember to say, tell me something good that's happening. Tell me if you've seen changes. Tell me if this. And I'm still learning to shut up a little bit more, to let people talk, but there's so many times that it's a lull. So I'll try to bring it up. But if I see people after meetings walking through the facilities, the family members, and they say, thank you for talking about that. I'm glad I heard about that. That's like my reward to make it come back, to keep it going, to give back, to keep going round and round. So if that's
Thanks,
helpful, I hope so.
Thanks, Janet. Letitia, you had put in the comments before that you like to think goals, and that's great. So, and that is a great thing for family councils to do. What does your family council consider as maybe the 4 main family council goals that you guys created?
Well, actually, I am still trying to pull together my meeting, but I do interact with some of the residents in my mom's memory care. We collaborate or talk through email or phone on different issues. And in my mind, this is how I think, instead of, having a group come together to bicker, find out from each individual family member, what do you, first ask them, what do you want to accomplish? And then once we come together to figure out what they want to accomplish and what they would like to see done better, because, no institution is going to be perfect or no place is going to be perfect, then we can work towards it. Because I have one of the ladies that I keep in touch with, we talk on a regular because her mother is blind, but she has, she's in the memory care unit. And when I go to visit my mother, she's always in her room, even when it comes to meals, which you're not supposed to do that. So I actually called the daughter, Susan, and told her about it. And she emailed the administrator and expressed to them what she would like to see. And even we've talked, and she said that, well, maybe we can get in touch with, the local churches in the area to see who can volunteer to come over, and we want to be able to work together and see what is it we can do to help. We try and help each other out, because I have another lady that, come to find out, she lives on my side of town, because it takes 40 minutes to get to my we both know how the commute is, and so she knows when I come there, I'll check in on her mom and she'll check in on my mother. So, and the same with my mother's roommate. So I try to work together, because we know we all work, so we can't make people feel guilty because they can't spend the quality time as most people do, or some not at all, because most of them are out of town. So I try to see what is it that we can do. For my objective is to see what we can do to help fill in the gaps, because I know I've noticed a lot of things right now with a lot of the residents are losing weight. So obviously food is an issue right now, and I haven't decided on how we're going to address it, but I am collaborating with someone in regarding that. And then the clothes, you can tell somebody's clothes are too big, if we need to have somebody donate something, that's what I'm willing to do.
So do you think that it would be beneficial to not just bring the complaints up, but also maybe plan something for the residents? You, as a family council, you can plan an activity or think about something that would be for all residents. And maybe that kind of joins you and but shows the facility that you're also looking at you're looking at quality of life, no matter how you're looking at it, whether it's
exactly, and that's what it is.
They need an activity, or maybe a clothing, reaching out to those clothing stores or whatever. But I think, how do you feel about planning versus
and also too, if there is an issue, I'm sorry to cross over, but if there's an issue, I would say kind of come up with something, say, with a suggestion of, let's try this, would this work? Or can we do this? An alternative, instead of just talking about a problem, come up with a solution to say, hey, can we try this? Because right now there's one issue that I need to find a manufacturer, and I was going to bring up a suggestion. I've noticed that the handoff for the day shift versus the night shift is just crap. I hate to say it like that, but this is what happens. I talk to a lot of the staff that comes in our agency. And so I make it a point to speak to them and ask who they are. And I've had some refreshing conversations with some of them. Some of them I have to force them, because, I'm like, you all got to work together. So I asked the agency nurse, one of them, and the CNA, how are y'all handed off who's who? Because, especially in dementia, because they wander, and then you got to give the exact person the right meds, and you got to know their temperaments. So the lady gave me 2 sheets of paper with names, and she said that was her handoff. I said, are you serious? Because I'm there so much, I pretty much know most of the residents, how their personalities are. So I said, there needs, and one lady, I wish I would have asked her, she said there was a place where each resident had name bracelets, and I think there's the name bracelets, and if to me it should be color coded as whether if something happens, if a DNR or whatever, just general information about that person. And because first of all, like I said, the nurses really need to know who the residents are because they're giving them medication. That's just extremely important.
Right.
And I had suggested, well, I hadn't suggested yet, but I want to suggest that, but before I suggest it, I'm researching to see who makes those armbands before I can present it, get them all the information. And then behind the nursing station is a big board, and this is something I did suggest to the unit manager. There's agency nurses that come there and they don't necessarily know who is an emergency point of contact if they need to contact somebody, and just general information. And of course the manager was like, she's gonna throw up HIPAA, and I'm like, it's not gonna have any HIPAA information. If you needed to put something down, you can say use a code, like they do in the hospitals where they use numbers. And then I suggested about a supply card, because they have a medicine card, because you see a lot of CNAs where if a resident is needing to be changed, or they got to go way down the hallway to get something, I said they need a rolling supply card. And she was talking about that was going to be a hazard, tripping hazard. I said, can't be no more than tripping hazard than the stuff that comes in here. So I have said that, and I'm just like, to me that's common sense, but not for everybody's common sense.
Right. So you're identifying a lot of things that you feel family council can address, right? There's a lot of challenges. But I think getting the family council started is where we want to talk to see. Barbara,
Yeah.
did you have something?
Well, I was going to ask you something. You and Janine are being great and trying to help the facility where I go start family council. So I've been thinking about it, and I was thinking perhaps if we could find a way to present it almost like a support group, because it's support for the family, support for the residents. It's actually in some ways supporting the facility because you're not supporting them, but it's just another.
Yeah, just like the military, because I'm a veteran and we had a family support group. So, you got soldiers that deploy, and you need those people to be able to come together because they're all in the same boat. So it's the same thing.
Right. It should be like a cooperative approach. And
exactly.
You have someone in a facility, as you just said, they're sad, they're mad, they're confused. If they know everybody else is feeling that way, it kind of like makes it a little less daunting. So I think in my view, it should be a support for the families, which is a support for the residents. And I like Gloria's idea, fun, instead of always complaining. Really get anything done. Gloria and Janine are really good resources, so take advantage.
So I think, I think the one thing that I've been kind of doing a little research with and sharing with Janine, but I think from what I've been hearing in a lot of with family councils too, is that to not make it sound so daunting, maybe have that initial family group planning session where you invite everybody and every family member to come, which the facility has to help you with. And then you use that to get to know each other before you start actually building the family council. You get to know everybody because then you can determine, oh, well, she might be a good media person. She might be a good meeting minutes person. She might be the good one to, he might be able to keep track of all of the email addresses and make sure everything gets out. So you want to maybe start there to make it sound less threatening, less daunting. So somebody might step up and say, oh yeah, I like to plan. I can plan a meeting together, right? There's a lot of ideas that you want to bring to family council, but sometimes you have to come to family council with not just the idea that we're going to change the facility. No, we're going to work together for the quality of life of the residents here. And it could be a lot of things, Janine. I've done enough
I,
talking.
no, these are,
No,
these
it's
are all
good. She's on point.
points. These are
Mhm.
good points. And we've been working with Leticia for a few months, so I feel your pain, Leticia. The thing with family councils, that I found, because we formed our own at my dad's nursing home, is definitely hear people out, but don't let them go off, on a tangent, because, everyone has to have a turn. People do need to voice their concerns and their frustrations. So that first meeting, it can be exhilarating. I look at it as exhilarating, getting all these people in a room or on a Zoom, and they're all finding out that they're experiencing similar experiences, which can be unifying. And that's what I try to do. And that's what I would suggest that people do. Don't be put off by that energy, that negative energy. You can turn it, you can adjust it to work for you. But you've got to get people who are willing to put in the work. And that's why one of the videos that Gloria turned me on to, and I tell everyone that we meet, the strengths in numbers video, which is only about 20 minutes long, and it is dated, but it brings up really salient points about why not you, to form a family council. Why wouldn't you want to advocate for not only your loved one, but all the residents in there? Who will advocate for you? It kind of puts the person who's thinking about and maybe hesitant about joining a family council into the driver's seat, because they're not in the driver's seat yet. And that's the thing. When people are in a family council, everyone is on the driver's seat. And once you get that flow going, the idea sharing, the priority sharing, people tend to gel, and you make friendships, and you just, there's a chemistry that you have that the administration cannot break. But you've got to go through that work. You've got to meet each other and get and become acquainted with each other and learn to trust each other so that you can work as one voice.
Right. And the other thing too is that I know, you do want to work with the facility because you want them to promote it, or at least let you put up a flyer for your planning meeting if you're just getting started. But remember, you have the right to privacy, right? And sometimes if your administrator is getting too much involved, then some of your families are not going to want to be part of it because they're going to be concerned about privacy. Who's going to know? I don't feel like talking up. So as a family council, you have the right to privacy. And what you want to learn too is you want to understand resident rights as well, because that's very key in your family council role as well when you're trying to establish things for quality of life. And the facility will always fall back on family resident council resident rights. So you want to make sure that you're not doing this like that. It doesn't look like the administrator is calling this planning committee or this family council group together. You want it to be you. You want it to be, and it might just have to be you for right now to pull this planning committee together. And Janine and I are here to help you do whatever. And then whenever you want to write a staff person in, you can. The other thing too is that they do have the right, or they are to give you a staff assistant, right? Or a staff person, a contact person that would be your family council contact person. And if you had questions, you can hand them to her, and then she would be responsible to, or he would be responsible to get you the answers. So just remember, and this is our family, which we just did last month, right? About do's and don'ts and privacy for family council. It is important that family members know privacy is key for your family council, because that can make a difference on how you grow.
And Gloria, Dana, is it Pfister or Feister? I don't want to butcher your name on the Zoom, but
It's
Dana brought up a
Pfister,
good
thanks.
point. Oh, thank you. She wrote in the chat, does the director of nursing or the assistant director of nursing attend the resident council meetings? Dana, this is why we made up the do's and don'ts, which you see on the screen right now. I hope that
So
this
resident
answers.
council or family council, which are we talking about? Resident council?
Well, I guess maybe the family council, maybe not at every meeting, but once in a while, to hear
As
the,
a-
you
You
know,
can
for
invite
the,
them. Yeah,
yeah,
it's your family meeting when you want to, if you think you have things that a director of nurses needs to address, absolutely invite them to the meeting, right? Because she's really responsible for the care that's being given by nurses and CNAs. So if you have, concerns over call bells, lack of recall bell response or not being taken to the bathroom, in the right amount of times. Yes, invite her to the meeting. She does not have to be there every meeting. It's only
Right.
when you want. You are in control of this family council. And I think if there's one message that Janine and I want to get across to everyone is the family council is for the families, led by the families, and it is yours. There should be no administration involvement unless you invite them. The only administration involvement should be them helping you get the message out. And that's if you can put a flyer at the front desk. We're having a family planning meeting, this day, whatever, this time. You can join Zoom or in person, however you want to make it. And put your contact information so they can reach out to you, not to the facility, right?
Yeah, I was thinking in
and
terms of
Right.
Letitia's comments, how it might be
Yeah.
useful to have the DON or somebody there.
Right. So it's
her
definitely and you want to
invite.
also, one of the biggest things too is respect the families that are there and also talk about privacy and agree as a group according to, the do's and don'ts, agree as a group how you're going to keep things private within your group. You have to, not just one person saying this is how we're going to do it. It's how are we going to, as a group, keep things private here in our family council. And as a group, you're going to decide on how to address certain issues. And as if you make things too monumental and they don't get done, that's when you start losing your families and they think that, oh, nothing's going to happen. So don't make them monumental. Start with the planning, start with the development, start talking to each other. You are a support group for each other. You're all experiencing something that you didn't think you were going to experience. So absolutely. Barbara,
Yeah.
did you have something
Can
to
I just-
say? Oh, sorry.
No, I think the meet and greet idea is a great idea. A good way, just families, let's all get together and find out who each other is, and then maybe
Mhm.
it will come up or connections will be made. That sounded like a good idea as a
Yeah,
start.
definitely. And your agenda for the beginning could be loose. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be like a massive agenda. It could just be meet and greet. Let's talk about who we are and how we see a family council. So absolutely. Janet.
Yeah, I just wanted to add some things that could be helpful. I'm sorry I don't have a printed one, but I could send one to Janine. But I had put up a little flowery, if you could see my little stationery that has just a small little blurbs on the purpose of the family council, it being very positive to say how we share, we support, we could educate each other, but that we're there to preserve the dignity and the well-being of all the residents. So it's kind of like a simplified, but it also says when we meet and how to contact me. And I have found in the last 3 months a new secret venue that giving some to the person who does the assessments and is the recruiter. She has been wonderful. And when she's doing the package with people, instead of it just having a couple lines saying there's a family council, she says, and if you'd like to know about it, there's a stack that's by the reception desk that the receptionist will make sure they're always filling up. And it's very, very helpful. Not that everybody who's been there for a while isn't as important, but to help recruit people as soon as they're coming in, even to say to them, I'm here to just answer some questions while you're acclimating. It doesn't have to be like the thought of, so what is this family council? Because that's a support that we're giving to even say, so do they tag the laundry? Don't they? So how do you know what they're eating and can you change the foods? All the simple little things that could then help you with the big things. And the other thing I wanted to mention is that that family council resource book that you guys were showing earlier, I did take some things out of it because especially when I have new members, there's a couple of sheets in it that you could send out to people that'll like say, would you be interested in helping maybe in this area of, and it gives all different things like, would it be on having some entertainment come in or like, so it's like letting people say what are their little talents and gifts that they could contribute to the family council. And it helps me like remember who I can mini recruit while we're involved in doing things. So it's like a little survey that they could take for themselves, but it helps them, everything that helps them find out something about family council, helps them say, you know, is this good for me? Is it not good for me? And then turning around to their resident to say, hey, you ever see those people? You ever see those things going on? And if they could get feedback from the residents that say, oh, people from the family council got us this or did this, that way to just keep it going full circle and have it stay, all the wheels stay connected, I think is a great thing to do right from the beginning.
And that's
Yeah,
what's great.
So those are some of the thoughts.
Go ahead, Janine, go ahead.
Sorry. Are you referring to our toolkit, Janet? The
Yes.
family toolkit? Okay.
Yes.
And thank you for mentioning that. We put that together some time ago, but it's excellent that you are using that to pull out some resources for yourself. And we encourage you, I'll put the link in the
Yeah.
chat. We encourage you to just download it, and she's right, rip it apart. Some things may not work for you and your family council, but feel free to disseminate it. You know, you can email it to members of your family council. And what I do is whenever we have a new person on our family council, in my introductory email to them, I include the PDF to this, because I found it very helpful when building it with the Long-Term Care Community Coalition a couple of years ago. And the new family members will get a taste of what it's like to plan and what the priorities are and the thinking. You know, it's a different thinking mode when you're on a family council, because you're thinking as a group with a united mission, a unique mission. It's exciting.
It is. And the other thing too is to nurture each other, meaning that don't just send emails when it's time for the meeting, but maybe once a week or once every other week, you send out something, you know, just a good morning and, you know, hope you're having a great day or anything like that. Just something powerful to keep them connected, that it's a positive experience to be part of the family council. And you do, together, you do have strength in numbers. I know Janine and I keep referring back to that, but for administration, yes, you want to, you know, Letitia had said, you know, tell them when tell leadership when they're doing something positive. Yes, if something positive happened and it's working, absolutely, you want to acknowledge that that was great. Thank you for trying that, because I see it's working. But also acknowledge each other and take a survey of the group every now and then, just to see how they think things are going and what they can see, you know, what they have different ideas. Keep involvement of your family council. Also, always use once every quarter or something, bring a speaker in, bring a speaker to your family council. There's tons of things for you to have a speaker at your family council. You can have your ombudsman come and talk and tell you about the ombudsman program if you're not sure of it, you know, yet, or some families don't know it. That's a great way for them to understand who the ombudsman is. Bring a elder law attorney in, bring anyone who can give the families the information that they need. The Alzheimer's Association, great, Letitia. They can talk about, you know, engagement with residents as they're going through different phases of their dementia. So don't ever dismiss the positive that the family council can also promote to each other. you are there to address quality of life, but by also pulling the families in with the positives of the speaker, educating them, being there to support each other positively through an experience that no one has ever thought they would have to go through, right? And it is heartbreaking at times. Yes, you want to do that. You want to keep that energy going, positive energy.
And if you want to form a family council in your loved one's long-term care residence, tell the ombudsman in your region. Because many ombudsmen don't know what a family council is simply because they haven't heard, they haven't experienced one in the long-term care residences that they're taking care of, but also because they don't know of any family members who are interested in forming a family council. Take the chance. Tell them, because you never know. They may be hearing from other families in your nursing home or your long-term care residence that they're also familiar or interested in building a family council, and you will meet other like-minded people. And by like-minded, I mean people who want to make a change, something positive. They want to advocate for the residents. And that's what it's all about. You are resident-centered. The administration says they're resident-centered. You're going to work together on this. It is a process. Like Leticia said in the chat, she's made friends to this. I have too. I've made friends with people who I would never have met otherwise if it were not for my dad living in his nursing home. And these are friendships I'm going to have for a long time. Leticia, talk to me.
I just dawned on me when you said that. I know you have a lot of tools that we can use, like the flyers. Is it a place on the flyer that we can put our name as a contact if we want the people to? I was just thinking of a like at the desk. It just popped in my head. You know how you have those clear signs where you put the flyer in there, and at the bottom, is there a way I could put my contact information to contact me? For
why don't you write it in?
Okay.
In a different color so that it stands out.
I just thought about that.
Like,
Yeah,
I was just
right at the
thinking of-
desk. I just thought about it.
I was just thinking of Janet's beautiful bordered her like she called it her stationery, but she has like it's almost like a poster board or you know, and she's got it bordered already, so it's eye-catching. And what I do, Leticia, is I use the templates in Word docs. So if it's near July 4th
I do that too.
or Memorial Day, I put up a patriotic, you know, it's a flag. Just do something themed because it is eye-catching and because you can.
You know what? I think I will do that today.
And don't be rushed. You know, I know you want to solve and you want to address a whole lot of things. I think Barbara and ombudsman all over the country can say the same thing. You know, we want to get in there and we want to help them. Don't be rushed with your family council. Take the planning stages. If it takes 3 planning meetings, then let it be 3 planning meetings, right? Until you find the right people who want to see it happen. Because if you become too over aggressive in developing this family council because you want to address all of these wrong things that are happening, you might lose some people who say, I don't think anything's wrong. No, take the planning stages, bring everybody together, get the buy-in in a more gentle way than trying to change everything right off the bat. The other thing too, remember our brochure. You can certainly download our brochure for family council. And I think if you want to put your contact information on the back, there might be a spot for you to put a label on the back with your contact information. Leave these, you know, in a common area in the nursing home, either in the lobby, or if you can ask to put some out on the, you know, in a brochure holder someplace, but work with administration on doing it. Don't just go in and do it, right? Because this is their facility too, right? So work with them on doing it and maybe use these as a little bit of a marketing tool to go with your planning stages of your family council. It's just about respecting each other in the facility, respecting families and what they bring to the family council. And we can talk more like on our next one about how to keep building, you know, who are the people you want? Why do we want to do this? We want to do this because the residents have rights and we want to change, we want to help with their quality of life. There's plenty of things you can do around the holidays for residents, all kinds of things. Family council is more than just the grievance council, right? Don't make it look like it's the grievance council. Make it look like it's the council for the residents.
Yes. I know that we have a couple of questions, Gloria, from when people registered for our hour, and I just wanted to just tell you a couple of them. Let's see, sorry. I know Sharon Wallace, if she's still on, she wanted to know how to start a family council. I would, because you're a resident, Sharon, I would wholeheartedly tell you and endorse talking to your ombudsman. Ask your ombudsman. If you have to pester them, just ask them I want to start a family council. Are there any families that are interested in starting a family council that I can talk to, even though you're a resident, or that you can talk to? But don't let up on your ombudsman. Your ombudsman talks to a lot of people. Councils are not, councils, I wouldn't say that they're mandated, but they are allowed. There is federal regulations that allow them in long-term care residences. This was a question from Raymond. They have to be, if someone is forming a family council in a long-term care residence, the administration and the owners of that nursing home must allow it. And that's federal, and I'm sure according to whatever state you live in, that is something that they have to do.
If I could cut in real quick on that, because I was just
Yeah.
reading through our training on that. The responsibilities of the facility, they have to provide a space, if possible, a private space, and they have to distribute information. So they're not required to create the information. The family council or whoever's organizing it has to create it and give it to the
Yeah.
administration, and then they distribute it. And that, I think, is pretty much what their responsibility is. And then they have to respond to any inquiries by the council.
Thank you for that, Stephen. I appreciate that. And Gloria Gibbon, I saw your email, your question in the chat, and I saw your question when you registered. I would wholeheartedly endorse calling and emailing your legislator in your district. They probably heard from you when you voted. Remind them again that you voted and that you will vote again and again and again. Get on their get on their in their line of vision. Call, email, and ask for those questions that you want to know about tax laws. That's something that we can't, as LTCCC, we're a nonprofit group. We don't have any jurisdiction in that. That's not actually our area of expertise. But these are questions that your legislators can help you to answer. They're the ones making decisions. They're the ones taking, perhaps they're in touch with nursing home owners and administrators, and they can help you in that. I'm sorry, we don't have those answers. Joanna says the family council meet off premises as well, correct? Yes. In fact, Joanna, the LTCCC provides a free Zoom room that some of our guests today are taking full use of. It's free. You can email us. You can actually, when you log onto the website, there is a free Zoom room sign up sheet, and just put in, it's very perfunctory information that we ask, but just fill that out and we will we'll schedule that Zoom room for you. You can stay on as long as you want, and you can use it as often as you want. We're here for you. It is a safe, neutral space. It's a unique Zoom link that we'll give you. If you want Gloria and I to join you, we can do that. Or you can, we'll be hands off, but we want you and your family council to have that space to discuss things at will, and not worry about being overheard or retaliation. I wholeheartedly endorse it. My own family council uses it, and I can't say enough about it. Thank you, Haley, for putting the link in the chat. I appreciate that. Any other questions that we can answer while we're here? Thank you, Mary Dell, for your kind words.
I know we've talked a lot, but if any of you have any specific things you want to discuss on our family empowerment time, these calls, please send it to us, because then we can build the program around what you want and we can discuss it in length during this call. It could be 2 issues, we don't have, it could be 2 things you want to talk about, but just let us know. Just send it to us, and we'll look into it, we'll research it, and we'll come back for a healthy discussion. I mean,
Yes.
Janine and I have them all the time, so please use us.
Yes, and thank you for those of you who are on, like Leticia and Janet. Those people who have formed a family council and you're just riding the wave. You're not giving up on it. There are low points and there are high points, and your family council members will keep you buoyed. They will lift your spirits. You're all working towards the same goal. So it's easy to keep that in mind. I know it's hard sometimes when you don't have a win. But when you do get a win, in your long-term care residence, chat it up, talk about it. When you're on the premises and you're going to visit your mom or your dad or your loved one living there, walk through. I know it's hard sometimes because you are just hell-bent on getting there, and you might be hearing and smelling things you don't necessarily want to, but have a smile on your face. That smile would attract other smiles. It'll attract energy towards you. Positive energy will attract people towards you. And you can talk about your family council. You can ask, hey there, Leticia. Oh, I'm Janine. What's your name? Oh, I'm Leticia. Hey, are you part of the family council? No, what's the family council? And then boom, you can hand them the family council brochure that you've downloaded from our website. You can just chat them up and tell them about the family council, some of the wins, talk about your loved one, where they live, your loved one has dementia or Alzheimer's. Find those common grounds that you already share with them, and you will build a kinship. You'll get interest. It's the one way I've found that's worked the last 4 years in getting people signed on to our family council. I am constantly recruiting. And that's the nature of the beast. You've got to recruit people. And it's not just up to you. Other people on your family council have to recruit too. It's the fair thing to do. And the more wins you get under your belt, the more you'll want to recruit, the more you want to talk about the wins you've had. Sorry, Gloria.
No, sorry. And maybe, make a time for recruitment. So maybe it be January, February, July, August. And maybe those are the months that you bring somebody into as a speaker, because that will draw other families to your family council. So always see when that flow is happening.
What's the matter with my sound?
Maybe you need to bring that speaker in, some dynamic speaker, to talk about something, something about long-term care, whatever. And that might help bring if you advertise that, it might bring the other families in. There's always new families coming in. So always measure your low, measure your highs, right? When you see, Janet, sometimes it gets too much to keep talking all the time. So maybe you need to have somebody else talk, right? Maybe somebody else needs to be talking to it's like, when you're growing up kids, like you can say 100 things 100 times, but somebody else says it once to them and, oh, that's a great idea, right? It's the same thing. So, bring that speaker in to ignite them, right? Keep a monitor on what's happening. Take some time and plan out your membership drives and make it consistent. It's a great thing. And we are very excited about building family councils. And it definitely is catching fire, I would say.
Yes. Gloria, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the survey
Yes.
link that Hallie put in the chat. Please, everyone who's on, it'd only take a few minutes of your time. We would love to get some feedback from you. We want to keep building our family council audience, and to just reach more people so that we can build more family councils. The more family councils we have in this country, the better it'll be for the residents of long-term care residents. And who knows, maybe us, because we all are towards aging, not towards youth. So just remember, what you do today may affect you tomorrow. But please do that. Sandy Hall, if you like, we can have, I know you sent me a message, we can have a conversation sometime this week. I can get in touch with you. Thank you, Richard, for being here. Appreciate your being here. Anything else? Any parting words before we end our hour?
Where is the survey?
The survey is in the chat.
I don't see it.
Mhm.
Are you
It's a
looking at the
link.
chat?
It's a link, so if you click on
Oh,
chat,
Okay.
I think Eric put it in. Or,
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
Eric, it's under Eric. Just click on it and it will take you there.
I got
Eric
it.
and Haley, they both put in the link several times. So
Yes.
please
Yep.
take the time to fill it out. We would love to hear from you.
And we'll send an email with that form after the program too, just so everybody can get it.
Thank you, Eric.
Thanks, everyone.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
We
Thank
look
you,
forward to seeing you
Leticia
in March.
and Janet and Barbara and everyone and Eliz, everyone who spoke up. We really appreciate you. Don't give up the good fight. We're here to advocate. Thank you so much.
Nope.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
Hands to you all.
See you
Thank
next month.